Okay, so some quick context today. I broke my wrist a couple of days ago. I was walking on the leaves with the dogs to avoid the ice on the driveway, but I hit a rogue piece anyway. So, yeah, it's really derailed things. It's broken in 3 places and I have to have surgery. So, if my hair looks a little unhinged today, which it does, this is why. It turns out there are some things you just cannot do with one hand. Hey everyone, I'm Melissa. This is Bourbon and Books. Thanks for being here. If you've watched other of my videos and if you find this one helpful, please like this video and subscribe. I appreciate it. What surprised me wasn't only the pain, although there is a lot of it. It was the sort of forced relaxation, which is not something I'm good at, relaxation. I suddenly became aware that everything I normally do, I kind of take for granted. You need 2 hands for a lot of things. How much you just do that doesn't need explaining. You don't need this internal narrative, which weirdly is exactly what we're talking about in today's video. Because when you slow down like that, you notice something. Your body already knows what's going on. It doesn't need a narrator to say, hold it with this hand and unscrew the top with this hand. You just do it and you don't feel it until you do feel it. Stories work the same way. Readers don't need us to explain everything we've already made clear. They need us to trust the story and to trust them to feel it. If you watched my recent video about openings being a promise, this is the next step. So once you invited a reader in, the real question becomes, do you trust them enough to lean in without hovering, without being a helicopter rider? On the page, trust shows up in really small ways. It's the moment that you don't name the emotion because the action already did. It's like the pause you leave instead of filling a silence. It's when choosing to explain, not explaining everything just in case. Readers want to participate, right? They want to make meaning. When they get to connect the dots themselves, they feel respected and more closely part of the story. And respected readers stay. Most over-explaining isn't bad craft necessarily. I think it's more like anxiety. It's kind of like you're thinking to yourself, what if they don't get it? What if I didn't write it correctly? What if it doesn't land? What if it is too subtle or feels confusing? But here's what actually happens. When you explain after the emotion has already landed, you aren't actually helping it. You are flattening it. You take a moment that could be echoing and you like bubble wrap around it. Readers don't leave because you trusted them too much. They leave when the story stops trusting them to make the meaning, to connect those dots. Here's a quick exercise so that you can think about this with your own writing. Grab a scene of yours. Highlight one line where you name an emotion directly, like she was furious, he felt betrayed, it hurt more than she expected. Now take that line out and reread the paragraph. Ask yourself, do I still feel it? If the answer is yes, then the scene already did the work. That sentence was you stepping back in front of it and over-explaining. If the answer is no, then think about what you can do to get to a yes. And just to be clear, this is not a never tell emotions rule. Sometimes you do have to name the feeling, and that's exactly the right thing to do. It's the difference between clarifying or explaining what the story already proved. If nothing else, this week has reminded me of one thing, and that is when you can't rush, you notice what actually matters, what carries meaning, what doesn't need extra explanation. Stories work the same way. You don't have to do more. You don't have to say more. You have to trust what the story is already doing, what your writing is already doing, and trust your reader to meet you there. And honestly, I couldn't over-explain right now, even if I wanted to. I can barely type. And this is a good reminder to me. I want it to be a reminder for you to step back and let your writing do the work without over-inserting yourself with extra information that isn't actually necessary. Now, if this video helped, the next one digs even deeper into why restraint works and why showing versus telling is not actually the right thing to be thinking about. It's the wrong debate. So watch showing versus telling is the wrong debate next. It's on your screen because that's going to help you understand, I think, when showing is appropriate, when telling is appropriate, because telling is appropriate at times. And it's a choice that you make. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's not show, don't tell, always, always. No, it's show or tell. You decide when and you decide why. So make sure you watch that next.